Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I will talk to you about healthy versus unhealthy orchids. I will show you the most common type of orchids that we can find locally and how can we identify if these orchids are healthy or unhealthy. I will compare both of them, but also I'll give you some tips how to quickly recover the unhealthy ones or access what could be wrong with these orchids. I will talk specifically about Phalaenopsis, Cattleyas, Oncidiums, and Paphiopedilums, showing you examples of all of them. I have them, the healthy versions of them, and also the unhealthy versions of them. So it should be a nice video, one that you can see practical tips and can maybe help you to choose a healthy orchid when you're buying them, or try to fix what's wrong with the unhealthy ones. So, without further ado, let's start this video. First up, the beloved Phalaenopsis orchid. Here I have two examples of super healthy Phalaenopsis. But how can I know that these two are super healthy? It's very easy. If you look at the leaves, they are thick, firm, green. Can you see this shade of green? That's like this dark green. Usually, most healthy Phalaenopsis will present this shade of green on their leaves. Apart from some Phalaenopsis that have some mottling, little dark dots, they are normal as well. Another sign that you can spot on the leaves of the Phalaenopsis is that the leaves should always be the top leaves the same size as previous leaves, or they will grow a little bit larger than the previous leaves. If the leaves at the top are becoming smaller and smaller, that's not a good sign. As you can see, this one as well, it's growing larger leaves, and all of the leaves are very plumpy when I touch them. Another thing that we have to look is to the root system of your Phalaenopsis. So as you can see here, the roots are all green and plumpy. I just water these Phalaenopsis. When you offer them some water, the roots will turn green. If they are not super wet, they will be in a light shade of gray. That's also normal. Some roots can be a little bit yellow. That's because they are not photosynthesizing. They are not receiving light. So they are not going to be as green as others, but that's also normal. Something else, it's really important that you have roots inside your potting mix, because the roots will hydrate your plant and will help your plant to grow. Another sign that I have that this Phalaenopsis is super healthy is these aerial roots. As you can see, it's full of them. These roots should grow in the air because these plants, they are epiphytes, which means that they are adapted to have the roots grow in the air and absorbing humidity from the air. This is perfectly normal and actually is really good for your plant. Never cut these aerial roots. I know that we are not used with them with other types of plants, but with orchid, they are perfectly normal and they are super great for our plants. Something else, we never should have a flower spike coming from the top here. That's not good. Flower spike will grow among the leaves and never from the top. And another thing that we should observe is the main central axis of our Phalaenopsis. We shouldn't have leaves falling down and having super dark brown spotty and mushy areas around here, around the central axis. They should be green, growing roots, and having plump leaves like these two Phalaenopsis are. So now let me show you not so good examples and of the complete opposite of what we have in here. I will start with a lighter case. As you can see, this plant's not doing very well. The top leaves, they are much tinier than the previous leaves and they are getting smaller and smaller, which means that my plant doesn't have as much energy to grow and mature these leaves as the previous leaves had. So it affects how this plant is photosynthesizing, the amount of energy that it's producing. That's why the leaves are getting smaller and smaller. And what's the issue here? Why this plant is producing smaller leaves? It's pretty simple and it's pretty obvious in this case. As you can see, I have one aerial roots, but I don't have many roots coming from my plant. And when I remove it from the pot, ta-da! It has 0 roots. I don't know if you can see properly, but it has 0 roots growing from the pot, inside the potting mix. So this plant is it's not rootless because I have 1 root here and I have 2 root tips growing. So what I might have in here is a lack of roots. So I lost most of roots of this plant. I had to repot it. And I think now it's starting to recover, pushing out these 2 root tips. But that was the reason why this plant was very stressed. This is one sign, but I have worst case to show you. This Phalaenopsis is stressed, very, very much stressed. If you look at the leaves, they are all limpy, very limpy, wrinkled, which means that my plant is dehydrated. Not only that, but all of the top leaves are becoming mushy and are dying. So the state of this plant is unknown. It's very, very stressed. What I know about this plant, why is that dehydrated? First of all, I have 0 roots growing inside the pot. It's completely rootless inside the pot. It has only these aerial roots, which explaining the reason why my plant's not hydrating very well. Another thing is I have some grazings on these leaves. It got attacked by pests, and what I think it happened, probably acquired some sort of virus or fungus, and I think it has a disease that is killing my plant. It's not a good sign not to have the top leaves not growing. So when we have this kind of issue here, we can say that we have some sort of crown rot. And crown rot is not good because the plant needs the crown to keep growing and pushing out new leaves. Something else, without proper roots, when we notice that our plant has very limp leaves, we need to offer our Phalaenopsis some water, let it hydrate itself. But if the leaves keep being like that, if they are that dehydrated even after you water, that's not a good sign. That is a sign that your plant is probably have issues with the roots. If you have root rot, you need to unpot your plant, pot it up, offer a new potting mix, and then hopefully when the roots become larger, and they will be able to hydrate our plant. So before you buy a plant, look at the crown, see if you have a healthy crown, see if you have roots growing inside the pot, if it's possible to hydrate. If the leaves are very wrinkled and limpy, it's possible to recover if you have healthy roots. But if you don't, if the roots inside the pot are non-existent, if the roots inside your pot are brownish, blackish, then that's not a good sign. So avoid buying that. All of these are signs that your plant is not healthy. Let's go to the second plant. There are Oncidium. I have here an Oncidium intergeneric. That's a complex hybrid type of intergeneric. But some of the signs that I show you are the same with Oncidiums, so it should be fine. When we have these super beautiful plants and they are healthy, what you can notice, they are very rewarding. They will bloom for you multiple times a year, and also they will keep growing new growths. So Oncidiums, different of Phalaenopsis, they do have these are called pseudobulbs, and they are also new growths. When the plant produces new growth, will have a fully mature pseudobulb and fully mature leaves as well. So these new pseudobulbs, these new growths, they also should be larger than the previous growths, or at least they should have the same size. If you notice that the new pseudobulbs are becoming smaller and smaller, it's a sign that your plant's not super healthy. Something else that you should notice with your Oncidiums and intergenerics as well, let me turn that for you to see, is that the pseudobulb should become lumpy after watering, should be large, and if you touch it, it's firm. The green of the leaves is super vibrant as well. When I touch the leaves of my orchid, it's thick, it's not being completely limpy. So all of these are good signs. And when I remove it from its pot, as you can see, it's full of thin, tiny roots, and they will become green when I water them or they can become slightly grayish, whitish when they are turning dry. Oncidiums and intergenerics, they need their watering they need to be watered more often than Phalaenopsis, and they struggle with the lack of watering. So let's go to some of the signs that these plants are not doing very well, since now we spotted a super vibrant and elegant and healthy intergeneric. Let me show you the complete opposite. Now I have here a very good example of a very stressed Oncidium. How I know that this one is very stressed? Look at the leaves. First of all, it's very limpy, droopy. Can you see that? It's because this plant is not being hydrated enough. So it doesn't have an enough amount of roots inside this pot that will be able to hydrate my orchid. Something else, I have only one pseudobulb here that I hope you can see that's completely wrinkled and is very small. And when I touch it, I can see that it lost a lot of water. And why this is happening? Because this here, the Oncidiums and intergenerics, they save water inside these pseudobulbs. So when the plant's getting dehydrated, this water will go to the leaves to try to hydrate my plant. As I told you, this is the previous growth, it's super large. The newest growths are much smaller because this plant probably has no roots or not enough roots to keep growing and maturing the new pseudobulbs. What should we do in this case? It's simple. You should remove the plant from its pot, repot it, and check the root system to see if you still have some live roots, offer a completely new pot, and it should do the trick. I have other signs that are not good signs with Oncidiums. Oncidiums and intergenerics are prone to pests. So if you notice that the leaves are having more grazing than usual, they have, when you look at the surface of the leaves, you find like grayish spots or dark spots. It's not a good sign. You should investigate to see if you have pests and treat the pests immediately because they can be done very quickly. Pests can destroy your intergeneric and your Oncidiums. More than that, if you keep your plant hydrated, they need to be watered when they are approaching dryness. Don't leave the mix completely dry. Offer them some bright light and keep an eye on pests. You should have super healthy Oncidiums intergenerics. Now, let's explore the difference with Cattleya orchid. Next, we have here the queen of the orchids, the Cattleya. These are known for their large, fragrant flowers, but they also can be a bit trickier to take care of. A healthy Cattleya, like all the other orchids, will have plumpy and green leaves and large pseudobulbs. Like I mentioned with Oncidiums, these ones, they will push out pseudobulbs and they are the newer growths of this orchid. Each new growth should be as tall as the previous one or at least the same size. So we know that our plant has enough resource to keep growing. The leaves, they will be green, dark green as well, but I like them when they have a little bit lighter tone to them, which means that I'm offering the right light. It's normal for them to have a little bit of dark spots like this one has, but they need to have this like light tone of green, not too light, not too dark, because they enjoy their super bright light. Signs that this Cattleya is super healthy. As you can see, I have lots of roots here on top of my pot. These roots are super plumpy. On top of that, what else I have here as a very good example for you is the fact that my newest growths are as tall as the previous one. Each is plumpy, each has no wrinkles here. It's not sloppy or anything like that. I do have something growing from the middle that you're not going to be able to see, but I think it can be a flower spike. I don't know if you can see, but I do have lots of roots growing here, and the roots are these like whitish with green root tips. That means that they are growing lots of roots, and which is a super healthy sign. This is a Cattleya that I repotted not long ago, and as you can see, this is a sheet that's pushing out buds, so it's full of orchid flowers in here which is always a super good sign. If I touch the leaves, they are super plumpy. And on top of that, if I remove it from its pot, I hope you can see from far, but it's full of roots. The roots will become slightly green when they are watered and very white, grayish when they are not watered. These plants, they like to dry out very well between watering. You need to wait for the mix to be completely dry before you offer any more water. And they also are adapted to receive lots of bright light. So that's really important for these plants to keep growing, becoming healthier and mature. And now I'm going to put here a completely different case for you to see. Look at the difference. Ta-da! These two push out pink flowers, pinky fluffy Cattleya flowers. This is a health case, and this one is the completely opposite. If you look at the roots, they are lumpy, dehydrated. Let me remove the healthy case from here to show you what's wrong. So, as I showed you already, the typical signs that your Cattleya is not doing well. Let's start with the growth. That's the new growth is very small compared to the previous growth, so it doesn't have enough energy to grow as large as the previous growth. All of the pseudobulbs are very wrinkled. The leaves, they also are wrinkled and they are lumpy. They are very floppy. All the growths are floppy. And on top of that, I can see, talking about the shade of green, this one is too light. It's not a very good, it's too much light for actually the actual case of the orchid. This orchid's not being able to photosynthesize enough with the light that's receiving because it's not healthy at all. What's happening here? What happens in most of these cases when Cattleya presents some of these issues? It's probably because we don't have enough roots, or the plant is simply dehydrated and needs to be watered. The first thing that you have to do every time when you buy a new orchid is to offer it some water and see if this plant will become plumpy and healthy again. That's not the case of this plant. Then grab it from its pot. If you look, we have water here, but all of the roots inside the pot, they are completely dead. I don't have roots inside my pot. So what can I do to try to save or rescue this plant and to give it a better chance? To remove from this pot, quickly repot, cut all of the dead roots, the mushy roots, and offer it a completely new potting mix. This potting mix should be able to aerate the roots, but also hydrate the roots. And hopefully, the newer growths will be able to push out new roots, and these newer roots will hydrate my plant. So that's the best way for you to know if your orchid is suffering, is stressed. In this case, I have more than one growth, so I might be able to save this plant. Now, let's go to the last orchid of this list. These are Paphiopedilum. So here it's a Paphiopedilum. Let me come closer to you so you can see what I'm talking about. These orchids, they don't have pseudobulbs. However, they are not monopodial like orchids. They won't grow one leaf on top of the other and will keep growing upright. They will grow one fund after another, one fund after another. So they would be similar to Oncidiums and Cattleyas, but they don't have pseudobulbs, so they rely on their leaves and on their roots to hydrate themselves. Talking about it, it's really important for a healthy Paphiopedilum to have plumpy leaves, plumpy growths, and also healthy roots inside the potting mix. Different from other plants, most of these orchids, they will grow in soils or near the soil, so their roots don't grow in the air. They should be growing inside the potting mix. I do have some yellow leaves here, but this is normal because that comes from an old growth that is slowly dying. It's offering all of its energy to the newest growths, and at some point it's going to be completely gone. That's super normal with Paphiopedilum. How I know that this orchid is healthy? Look at the leaves. They are super plumpy, they are green, they are growing healthily and nicely. I have 4 new growths. I have a flower spike that's coming from the top here. So I know, looking at these leaves, that it has enough roots that it's hydrating itself. which is super great, and I'm so happy. As you can see, look how beautiful and green this plant is. They are mottled, which is normal in this type of Paphiopedilum. Now, just for you to know when something is wrong, it's pretty clear and it's obvious, and you can see. I'm going to show you the example. This is an unhealthy Paphiopedilum. How I know that this is unhealthy? Simple. Look at the leaves. They are all floppy. They are wrinkled as well, but they are very, very much floppy. They don't have enough water or enough nutrients to keep hydrating themselves. I have a new growth that is tiny, tiny, tiny that you barely can see. It is inside of this potting mix. I have another new growth that, again, it's a very small growth. It's like this plant is not even mature yet. It's like this is a seedling. However, it was a super large plant before. So something is definitely wrong with this plant. What it is, if you have something like that where the leaves are floppy, limpy, like other orchids, you should try to hydrate it first. If it is still like that, you need to repot your Paphiopedilum and remove the dead roots. If it has 0 roots, you're going to have to baby it a little bit until it's completely recovered, and hopefully when it starts to pushing new roots inside the potting mix, your plant will also start to mature and to grow new growths. Something important, Paphiopedilums tend to grow a little bit slower than other orchids, so you need a lot of patience to be able to have this plant completely mature again. If you repot your plant and it didn't sort the issue, your plant might have other underlying issues. However, this plant is like that because got affected by pests, and I suspect it lost its roots. So it's probably almost rootless, relying only on the roots from these 2 new growths that are very small. That's why the plant is so dehydrated. I need to repot, investigate the roots, offer a new completely potting mix to be able to increase the chance of this plant to be alive. If you find something that for sale, don't buy it if you want to have a healthy plant and want to have some Paphiopedilums bloom soon. Only buy it if you want to attempt to save. But if the plant is in this state, don't buy it if it has its full price, because that's not fair. Actually, it should be very much discounted because the plant is very stressed, it is struggling, and will take a while to bounce back. But that's a very good example of a Paphiopedilum that is struggling. Now, let's conclude this video. So guys, here it is, the guide to identify healthy and unhealthy orchids. I hope you enjoy our trip together to the world of Paphiopedilum, Phalaenopsis, Cattleyas, and Oncidiums. The key is to keep a look on their leaves, roots, growths, to catch early when some problems arise, and also identify these problems before you buy these orchids and bring them to your collection. Remember, even if your orchid's looking like rough, it's never too late to bring them back to life. I mean, it's never. Sometimes it's too late, but most of the times we can easily recover them using simple tips. So if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. There is other ways to support my channel if you would like me to keep producing videos, that's using some of the super thanks down below, and also some of the Amazon links that I will add below all of my videos. If you have any questions as well, I'm also super open to answer them. Just leave comments down below and subscribe to my channel. That's the best way to support me. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.